Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jessica Cheriton, your Salida Colorado realtor, and today we're diving into the question I get all of the time. Why is Salida so expensive? This is a pretty controversial topic, and if you've ever browsed listings around here, or even if you've just tried to rent a long-term situation here, you've probably had some sticker shock. Colorado overall has become really expensive over the past several years, but Salida is one of those markets that went from 0 to 60 in just a couple of years. So let's unpack what's really going on here in the Salida real estate market in 2025 and why this little mountain town has some big city prices. Really, if you look apples to apples, we are right on par with the Denver market prices. First of all, we've got pretty limited housing inventory. Salida is a small town. There is a limited amount of space available, and there just isn't a huge supply of homes, especially single family homes. The rental market is tight too. So when inventory is tight, the law of economics, and there's a higher demand, more people want to move here. That's when prices just naturally go up. And that's been happening, especially over the last 5 to 6 years in this area. And though we have had a spike in new construction and a lot of building going around town, we still don't have the space for the sprawling suburbs that some of the nearby cities have, like Colorado Springs and Denver. And we won't ever. And so as demand goes up, supply will not be able to keep up with demand in this market. It will stay limited. So prices will probably continue to rise in this area and may go sky high at some point. So that's the first thing to consider. The next thing is we're also seeing a major influx of higher income buyers, not just from Colorado, but from places like Texas and California, and also from Colorado, from some markets that have really spiked in crowdedness and price in the last few years, like places along the front range like Boulder. So people are selling $1 million, $2 million, $3 million homes in these places like Austin or Denver, Boulder, the Bay Area. And then they're bringing that buying power here. So they're buying $1 million, $2 million homes with cash. And that also drives up prices across the board, because they can easily outbid someone who's contingent and also who is with a loan for the majority of the purchase price. So it's great for the sellers, but it makes it tough for full-time working families who are trying to stay put here in the Valley and have an ability to afford to live here and to have a home here. Another really big reason that Salida has become so expensive, of course you may have guessed, is tourism. Salida doesn't just thrive on tourism, it is also one of the economic backbones of this area. So we have visitors pouring into the valley year-round, from the skiing to the whitewater rafting to the mountain biking in the shoulder seasons, and even just camping, hiking, fishing at these beautiful Bureau of Land Management or National Forest areas that we have adjacent to our county and in our county. There is a lot of recreation here, and it really never slows down. So with that comes a shift in the type of housing market that an area experiences. A lot of homes in our area in the last 10 years have been turned into short-term and even mid-term rentals, as the short-term rental regulations have restricted ability for people to get those licenses, because frankly, it's just more profitable to short-term rent than it is, and even mid-term rent than it is to long-term rent. In 2 weeks, you can make what you'd make in a full month of renting to a long-term tenant. And that makes it really tough also for folks who live here full-time and work here, especially our seasonal employees who may just not have the down payment, and then also can't pay those high rent prices because although they're here seasonally, they're multiple seasonal jobs strung together, so they're trying to stay year round, and oftentimes they're getting pushed out of places that they have been able to rent in the past because those prices keep going up and up and up, or are being converted to short-term rentals. So Chaffee County's short-term rental rules have become a lot more strict, for sure, but Not all locals agree on all of these rules, and that's another hot topic that we'll just have to cover in a video for another day. The short-term market, though profitable also to the owners, also drives up home prices because investors are willing to pay more if they know they can make more on a property. It's okay. They'll be able to cover the mortgage or, have a bigger monthly income from that property, a larger cash flow, if it's a vacation rental and a short-term rental. So that cycles in as another really important factor to consider. And unfortunately, locals and local workers are caught in the economic squeeze of that issue. One other factor, the remote worker boom. People aren't tied to an office anymore. So they don't even have to have a job locally to live here full time. And where would you want to live if you could live anywhere? Salida, of course. It's beautiful. There's a great, quality of life with the outdoor access and a strong sense of community. So that is what we're seeing as another factor for a ton of people just coming here to the area, wanting to make it home because they're not tied to a city anymore. They're not tied to an office, but they're still earning Denver, New York, or Silicon Valley paychecks, which means they can afford a lot more than the average local person who's tied to a local job. And those jobs have not kept up with, out of state higher income pricing for salaries. So let's talk about this remote work issue. Ever since 2020, people realized that they don't have to sit in the same spot in Denver or wherever it is, or Dallas. And they were like, wait, I can make home anywhere. And so I can do this Zoom meeting from the parking lot at Monarch and then go ski for a little bit, or from a porch with amazing mountain views. And so they packed up and came here. And honestly, those 2 years of COVID and a little bit post-COVID were some of the biggest years we've ever seen in the Salida real estate market. They cashed out their big city equity, they brought their big city paychecks and landed here, and who could blame them? We have it all and we love it too. And so the coffee shops, the access to internet, and heading out on a trail in the afternoon as soon as you're done with work, it is a remote worker's paradise. But here's the kicker. When you look at those salaries in comparison to what a local even has the potential to earn, or even like a small business has the potential to earn, like a shop owner downtown, it makes it nearly impossible for locals to compete with those prices, rental or purchase. And so suddenly we've got what was the status quo competing with this huge leap in income earning, and it's really brought the prices up in our area. Can't blame it all on that, but it really has been a big factor. A few local agencies are working to combat these issues and try to create more local workforce housing, more deed-restricted housing, so that people that are here with income levels that have typically been here are able to get into housing. So every day, even though it's an outdoor adventure waiting to happen, without housing, it makes it pretty tough to enjoy the lifestyle of here. The lifestyle of sitting in the hot springs 1 minute and then surfing in the river and then skiing down the slopes or mountain biking in the afternoon. You don't just live in Salida, you do things in Salida, and I think a lot of people are attracted to that. And that's the dream that a lot of people want. So, of course, when people realize they can live somewhere with that opportunity and that kind of access to the outdoors, it's hard to keep them away and it's hard to keep it a secret. And I just don't see Salida coming back from that. I don't think it's ever going to be the small little sleepy town that it was even 10 years ago. Why would they live anywhere else? But again, that dream is expensive, unfortunately, and everyone wants it. And so all of these factors have just made a difference in coming together and driving the prices up in our small area. And making it so there's just not enough homes to go around to everyone that wants it. So the law of supply and demand economics. Now here's what makes things extra tricky. You'd think with all of this demand, we would just build more homes, right? Like, why not just build like 100 more homes and make sure we have tons of places for everyone that wants to live here? Well, not so fast. Doesn't really work like that. Even though there has been a substantial amount of development in Chaffee County over the last 4 to 5 years, between the zoning rules, and we just had new zoning laws implemented this year in 2025, the limited amount of land, being surrounded by BLM and National Forest land, there's not a lot of room to grow out of the valley, limited water, community pushback, and also the limited workforce to actually build these places, because we don't have the workers here because they can't afford to, live on a salary here to work here to build the homes. So it just has created a restricted opportunity for further development, and it means that we're not adding homes at the rate that we would need to be able to keep up with the demand. So it will just continue to increase prices. Every time a new development is proposed, there's usually a huge debate and a big to-do. And some people are saying things like, well, we need housing for our workers. And others are like, not in my neighborhood, not in my backyard. If you've heard of the NYMD, not in my backyard. I moved here to get away from all that, to be away from high density housing. So the result continues to be very limited new construction, very limited opportunity for home ownership, which means that the existing properties will keep going up and up and up and climbing in value over the next several years. I don't know when we'll see things come down. One last thing to note is second homes. There are a lot of homes here that only get lived in for a few months out of the year. It is not as bad as some other resort counties like Summit County or Pitkin County, but it does happen here. And it's a dreamy place to have somewhere to get away. But the impact of that on the local market and community is really big. So these homes are off the market for renters. Sometimes they're sporadically short-term rented, and they don't add to the full-time housing inventory of the area. So it's pretty tough. When you look at the overall amount of homes in the area, you can't count all of those second homes. It's a pretty interesting dynamic where entire neighborhoods can feel like about half the neighborhood is actually living there and working to build community in that neighborhood. And then also driving up the prices because those homes are sitting empty and not contributing to having local workforce housing or local workers, like people that are in the community every day. So lots of issues here, but one of the reasons people love Salida the most is it's really got a community spirit, a sense of connection. It's got soul. It's not just a resort town. It's got great history, kind of quirky, creative, like come as you are energy. And I think that between art walks and live music and the restaurants and local murals and all of the wild adventures you can do in close proximity to town, our festivals like FIBARC every summer. The most important thing here is the people. The people that you meet here are the best, and that's really what makes Salida what it is. And I hope that the community and the people here, like homeowners and local workers, everyone will try to work together and create a more collaborative effort to increase the housing supply and allow it to continue to be that type of a community. People don't want to just live here. Most people come to Salida because they want to really be a part of the community. And that is one of the things that drives the property values up here, because it is that type of a town. people are usually willing to pay more for the personality of the town and how it feels, and that sense that they get of, you know, knowing your neighbor and being friends with everyone and being part of something that feels real and big and rooted in tradition. That is rare in our world today. So a house in Salida is not just a house, it's a home, and it's a home in a community where there is a lot of connection. And when you buy in Salida, you're not just buying a property, you're buying a lifestyle, and you're buying into that community vibe that we have here. So who wouldn't want that? And it is costing a premium. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video, or ask or comment if you have anything that you need to know. I'm Jessica Cheriton, your go-to Heart of the Rockies realtor. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.